Thank you, Dr. Price. Dr. Gustafson?
Thank you. It's a real pleasure for me to be here today, but I should say at the outset that when David Hatch and I started talking about this and how we would get some FAO speakers into the event, which I'm really happy that we were able to do, I always wanted Joseph Schmidhuber here. We thought it would be ideal timing because of the work that's coming out on investments and soon to be published and so on, and that seemed to be a natural. And the other natural, really, we hope to have Graziano da Silva here, our regional director for Latin America, who was one of the idealizers and initial leaders in Brazil's Zero Hunger program, and that ultimately was not possible, but we thought in the end it would still be good to talk about Zero Hunger in Brazil, which I know reasonably well, but to do it in a slightly different way, I think, than Graziano would have done. I suppose he would have, knowing it intimately, would have really focused on Zero Hunger, and I'd like to move it just a little bit off that and to look at sort of the lessons of Brazil's experience and how it overlaps with what we would like to see or what we think we should always have in national food security plans, building a lot, I think, on Alec McCullough's remarks on what kind of the ideal set of circumstances and features in a comprehensive package look like. The other thing I should say at the outset, in the discussions all day today, we have been kind of going back and forth between agriculture and food and nutrition security. And this one, the Zero Hunger, really focuses on food and nutrition security. Brazil, needless to say, is an agricultural powerhouse and has done just remarkably well over the years in improving production and export capacity. The world's largest soybean exporter, soon to be the world's largest meat exporter, massive investments in research and infrastructure, institutions, and so on. So there is sort of a side that you could also talk about what Brazil has done right or not so right on agriculture development, but Zero Hunger really looks at the food and nutrition security side and really looking at tackling the hunger issue. So with really limited time, I'd like to start out with what I see as some of the main ideas. First of all, that Zero Hunger really is kind of the global benchmark and the reference point on what a comprehensive hunger program, anti-hunger program looks like, combining short-term food access by the most vulnerable with hopefully longer-term structural changes that over time overcome social exclusion, hunger, and poverty in this really difficult nexus of problems. Certainly, Brazil is out in front, and President Lula really way out in front in prioritizing hunger on the political agenda and looking at this issue of eliminating, as Joseph mentioned in his remarks, eliminating hunger as the centerpiece of a lot of other policies on how you rethink the role of the state and how state and society and community groups and so on come together. Not, let's say, looking at that first and then having hunger be part of that, but really focusing on hunger and then seeing what else happens out of that. Certainly there have been really excellent results in Brazil. Some parts have worked much better than others, as I'll get into. And I think the final point is that I'd like to make that I think is particularly important, and looking at other places around the world, in moving from a situation where it was a Lula policy to something that is a permanent state policy of how you actually get hunger on the map and keep it there. So one of the most striking things really about the Zero Hunger program is that it was the top priority. And Lula, in his inauguration address in January, said, you know, if Brazilians, by the time I'm done, if all Brazilians have 3 meals a day, I'll feel fulfilled. And this is really what drove it, partly for moral reasons, as some of you spoke about this morning, but also for economic reasons that he just didn't see, and lots of others didn't see, that Brazil could really be developed without attention to hunger, and looking really at hunger as a cause of poverty, not just as as a consequence, it's, you know, a two-way dynamic. And really, for Brazil to develop, you really have to overcome the barriers, the constraints imposed by hunger. And the program looks a lot like what FAO and the food summits for a long time have been talking about, this twin-track approach of access and production. But by this point, access and production, everybody are pretty much in agreement on. Nobody's opposed to it. But what you actually do, how you put that in practice within Brazilian conditions with real high income inequality and regions that are also large inequality and so on, is this adaptation to access and production issues that I think is so